5 tips and tricks you need to know for Mass Effect 3. Hey Ensign Squad, how you doing? So we've started to approach the end of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and while a lot of you are still exploring the first and second game, we steadily have folks getting into Mass Effect 3 for the first time. Now, Mass Effect 3 is easily the most linear of all the games, and there isn't really a lot of tips that can be applied here since the game basically guides you to what you have to do. Still, there are some things that the game doesn't tell you, and here are some ways that you can make the endgame easier for you. One tip will be how to actually get the best possible ending, so stay for that if anything. Don't forget to check out my other videos. I have way too many Mass Effect videos at this point, some of them being guides and lore videos. Oh, and leave a like too, it helps the channel. Tip number 1. Upgrading. Let's get into the basics. In order to fight off the Reapers, you'll have to equip yourself with weapons. One thing that has changed dramatically from previous games is that you can attach different parts to your favorite weapons. These attachments vary from increasing your overall damage per shot to the magazine size to the total weight of the weapon. Now, weapon weight increases your power cooldown time, so having as little weight as possible will be paramount if you want to be effective on the battlefield, making attachments like the SMG weight attachment a real treat. The cool thing is that not only can you upgrade your weapons to become stronger and effective, but you can also upgrade your attachments, making it possible to make some extremely overpowered weapons. My personal favorite is the Regar Carbine. It shoots a continuous beam that only hits at close range, as it is a shotgun. Having it fully upgraded with an ammo attachment will turn it into the mother of all tasers, as you will literally be melting your enemies into goo. In order to upgrade your gear, go to Deck 5 on the Normandy, the shuttle bay. The terminals will be just next to the elevator. Tip number 2. Asset scanning trick. Now, one of the less appreciated aspects that were changed in Mass Effect 3 was the scanning mechanic. In Mass Effect 2 you could scan planets for resources, and while it could become mind-numbingly boring to do, what they did with it wasn't much better. So because of our Reaper overlords invading to harvest everyone, this means that they're going to be invading everywhere at once, and this shows when you start up your galaxy map. Now, instead of collecting materials by probing, you will now collect war assets by probing. And not only that, you will soon have several Reapers chasing your ass because they don't like it when you... The worst thing with this mechanic is that as soon as you scan for materials in a system, Reapers are going to pick up on it, and if you scan, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, they'll pop into the system and chase you. Thing is, they gain speed the longer they chase you, so you really need to be smart about when and where you scan. And if you manage to call the Reapers to the system, you'll have them chasing you until you do a mission. I hear you. This minigame can be extremely frustrating, and as much as I want to yell at BioWare for thinking this would be a fun mechanic, this is what we got. So what's the trick? If you manage to call the Reapers, they'll spawn in from specific areas of the system. If you manage to flee from them successfully, but you haven't managed to collect all the assets, just dive right in again, but from an angle that doesn't spawn the Reapers. Shoot off a couple of scans and maybe you'll pick up something, then exit again. Do this repeatedly, but remember, you'll have to be quick in collecting the asset, as the Reapers will be gaining speed towards you. Happy scanning. Tip number 3. Explosions, explosions, explosions. As I've talked about in previous videos, Mass Effect 3 improves the combat vastly from Mass Effect 2. One of the aspects of combat that is improved on for the best, in my humble opinion, is the combination detonation mechanic. In Mass Effect 2, only biotic detonations were possible. In Mass Effect 3, you can create both tech and biotic explosions. One of the best classes for this is the Sentinel, as you have Warp, Throw, Cryoblast and Overload. Sentinels have other abilities too, but these 4 are the main ones you'll be spamming most of the time. For biotics, Warp is your primer and Throw is your detonator. For tech, Cryoblast is your primer and Overload is the detonator. There are more abilities that you can use to create both biotic and tech explosions, and they're all super fun to use. You have the potential to wipe entire enemy squads out in just a few seconds. Especially armored opponents will melt with the right combinations. This system also makes your squad choice much more important, as depending on the class you play, you need squad mates that can complement your abilities. So yeah, if you want to make Mass Effect 3 a breeze, remember to use Detonations to its fullest potential. Tip number 4. Eavesdropping. In Mass Effect 3, things have become much more linear and somewhat casual, as I stated before. This means that there are a lot of more static stuff and less interactive stuff than before. Gone are the days of having to talk to people for fetch quests. Now you can just stand around and listen to them talk.
I have a little brother. He went off-planet to try and make money, hung with a lousy crowd. A week before the Reapers, my brother sent me this excited message. He'd found...
Say what you will about this mechanic, just make sure you don't miss out on it, because listening to conversations between different NPCs will usually give you side missions that you can complete for war assets and other stuff.
Purgatory.
You do not understand. The code of the ancients is the collected wisdom of our people.
A lot of people might miss out on this thing very early on, as it's a pretty major change from the previous games where you had to talk to people in order to get the missions. You still do have to talk to some people though. So remember, be a real creeper and stand real close to any NPC you can find. They might provide you with some valuable information. Tip number 5. The best ending. Alright, we're here my friends. This is the last tip, and I'm going to include it in this list as a short explanation, but if you guys want it, I'll make an in-depth video about it. There are some things that you have to make sure you get in order, so let's get those out of the way. Make sure you've done everything you can in the previous games, so that it gets carried over to Mass Effect 3. This includes any and all side missions in Mass Effect 1, and don't forget the Bring Down the Sky DLC, and doing every DLC and side mission in Mass Effect 2. Trust me, you'll roll over in your bed when you realize that there's a bunch of interactions with characters and events that you're going to miss out on in Mass Effect 3 if you didn't do them in previous games. But the most important part here is about the war assets. Because of the multiplayer not being included in the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the war asset mechanic or Galaxy at War mechanic has been rebalanced. Rebalanced as in made harder. Yes, it's more difficult to get the best possible ending in Mass Effect 3 in the Legendary Edition, which means that you have to collect as many war assets as possible. This is why doing every mission in Mass Effect 1 and 2 is so important, as most missions you complete will give you more war assets. How many war assets do you actually need to get the best ending then? Well, this was pretty hard to narrow down, as nobody has a definite answer on this. But you seem to generally be needing upwards of 7,600 points in order to get the best possible ending, including the secret Easter egg that I won't spoil for new fans. So, before you even attempt the last mission in the saga, remember to collect as many war assets as possible. Alright Ansven Squad, that's it for this video. If you have any tips of your own for Mass Effect 3, leave them down in the comment section below. Have a great day Ansven Squad. See you later.